just a different part of my back. So, yeah. No lower back, how you doing? Like slap. So, anyway, but other than that, I'm doing good. So, and those of you who don't know, that's my mom over there. I think most of you know who she is. So she's here to check on us, make sure we're doing it all right, Jason. So, all right. So, look, it's just...
That was the first thing she said to me when she walked in. I'm just here to observe you.
There you go. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Well, usually I watch it from California. So.
Well, she's the #1 fan on Facebook for any of the other stuff that we're doing. So, anyway. All right, I want to keep it real simple. I mean, I think the main thing to just focus on here for a minute is just, look, mindset. I was thinking, like, look, what would I be doing if I'm the beginning of a year? And you can look at all the things like resolution. There's a great thing from Tony Robbins I was just watching that was all about resolve. And when we resolve something, like there's no other option, that's what we're going to do. But from that standpoint, I just want you to think about just your mindset. And there's so many things that can affect it or infect it, right? I mean, it's your culture, it's your environment. It could be your home front. It could be the people you associate with, it could be your friends, it could be those who are also have the best of intentions to help you, and yet they still may be impacting your mindset in a real negative way. So this is what I want you to focus on. I just want you to pick 3 things. And I could go through a lot of things, like what you read, what you watch, what you listen to, right? Who you spend your time with, from exercise to review of your goals, your plans, your visualization, your meditation, all of these different things that you could focus on. And just as you're going through those, just pick 3 that for the next, let's just say a minimum of 30 days, you say, man, I'm going to do these every single day to elevate the way that I think. Now tomorrow or the next day, there'll be a daily message that will come out. And look, the battle of this industry, the battle of prospecting, the battle of exercise, the battle of anything that it's that idea of we know what we're supposed to do, but we then go do something completely different. And I know, like, a good example, the #1 thing, right, if we look at from these 3 things I want to focus on right now, let's just jump down here to discipline for a minute. And that is that in regards to your discipline, look, if you have the discipline to prospect in this business, everything else works. Right? The thing I've often said is that the level of rejection that you can take, if it's very, very high, then the fact is that your income will be very, very high. So the level of rejection that you're willing to take on is always in some relationship to the money that you earn. And so sometimes we're so focused on never being rejected, or we're focused on never having anyone turn us away, so we go to other ways of business. We'll wait for business, right? We'll go buy business instead of just all the rejection to find the one. Because the reality is that if you found just 1 person or more per day, well, that wanted to do something, it took you 7-8 hours to do that. But we get so caught up in the rejection, we get so caught up in the call reluctance, we get so caught up in the idea of not doing what we're supposed to do and doing it anyways. And some of us have conquered different parts of that. I watched people in this industry where prospecting was no big deal. I remember that was never something that, those of you who knew Dave Stocco, I never had to hold him accountable to prospecting. We were talking always about other things. It had nothing to do with, wait, will I get on the phone today? So then I can meet with the same agent every single week, and guess what the only conversation is about? Why or how come you didn't make your calls? So the whole thing is that each one of us will have different disciplines that we either have mastered or not mastered, and all of us want this fun little thing called self-discipline. It sounds really groovy, sounds really awesome, sounds like, man, I've really conquered my life. But then there's other areas where you don't have the self-discipline, and you need to make sure you put outside factors around to protect you. And I always look at like things like accountability as just the insurance ingredient or the insurance policy to your success, the insurance policy to what you want to have happen. And so even today I was writing down in my journal, I was just like, okay, what are the 2 or 3 things that kind of make everything else work? And what would be those things that I would want to be held, not from just a place of discipline, we're going to jump all through these, we'll put a third one up here, but self-discipline versus accountability. And no, you can't go to the dictionary and see the difference between these two the way I'll explain it, but I've always looked at accountability as if I go to Lindsay and say, hey, hold me accountable. For me, accountability is on the outside. Discipline, and when I always think about the word self, is something I do internally. And so some things, there's things that we're self-disciplined in doing, right? I mean, I would presume that we're fairly disciplined, unless you have a major issue with this, is bathing, right? Right? Or maybe, self-discipline, and the story I often talk about is my little Ashley, who when she was 10, 11, and 12, she would, or throughout her whole, let's just say from the day she was born to about age 12, was, did you brush your teeth? 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 And then she'd get in the car. Did you brush your teeth? And she would huff and puff back into the home, and she would brush her teeth. But then there was a moment where she finally became wise. She became self-disciplined. You know what happened? You heard this story from me before? Yeah, I've heard this? She found boys. And guess what? All of a sudden, she became self-disciplined like overnight. And she started brushing her teeth. I still remember it. I'm like, and then she would be mad at me for even asking her if she brushed her teeth. Like, how could you even think that I wouldn't brush my teeth? Because she was so now disciplined in that look. And you could get into either more depth, and that is so much easier to be disciplined when you have reasons. There's the whole thing of, my willpower. And you always hear this from Tony Robbins, this will escape us. Willpower will last for a period of time, but reasons will last forever, right? Reasons are a whole different ballgame. When we have reasons to take care of our health, or reasons to take care of our prospecting, reasons to master scripts and dialogues, and it becomes more than just, this is nice, but it becomes, their depth of reasons becomes so deep into our soul, you won't worry about even the accountability. You'll just do what you're supposed to do despite how you feel, and maybe in certain areas of your life no one will hold you accountable because you're going to hold yourself accountable. So the middle section right here is skill sets. And look, no matter where you go and get your information, these are the three ingredients to every great athlete. They're the same ingredients to every great business person. They're the same ingredients to every great real estate agent. The fact is if you do things to protect your mind, if you have the skill set, the ability to communicate is what we're really talking about, and you have the ability to be disciplined in just a few areas of your life in this business, it's interesting how fast this business can change in our lives. Good morning, John.
Hi.
And so the thing is I would just echo to you that as many times as you may hear the words mindset, skills, and discipline, if you want to huff and puff and say, man, I'm so tired of this, and man, I don't want to hear that anymore, the challenge is that if you've mastered it, you probably wouldn't be saying that. My observation is that the guy or the gal who is especially you see this in martial arts, where their obsession and their joy of focusing in on the very fundamentals becomes the joy of the day. They actually love going back to the very beginning of what they learned or what brought them to that black belt or master status, and they love to go back to the mastery of the very, very basics. So remember, people always ask, in fact, speaking of John who was just there, he always asks me, he goes, man, I've heard you talk about some of these things over and over and over, and some of you have heard me talk about them over and over and over and over again. And you may say, well, do you ever get sick of it? The answer is no. I don't. I'm more fascinated that I don't get sick of it than I am even the principle, because I realize that the principle is so important, and there's always another layer to unpeel from it. Of what limitations are you putting on yourself from the standpoint of your internal dialogue, your messaging, your mind, right? What are you doing in regards to elevating the way you communicate? How are people feeling when you're around? What do you say when you're around? How do you inspire people into action when you're around? Then you start looking at things like the self-discipline and identifying the things you really do well, but the areas of your life that are the most important for this business to succeed in, what are you not doing that if you did them would change everything? This is a really simple business in the standpoint of what needs to be done. I mean, think about what just simply needs to be done. And then we look at the people like the Brian Burnett's. I was just looking at his numbers. He cleared $1.5 million. When I met him as a new licensee, which was really early on in his career, I was out there even competing with him when he worked up here in the Salt Lake market. Today, I watch him to where he doesn't even think twice about prospecting for 4 to 5 hours in a day. My conversations with him are often about how he's burned out. Often the conversations with him are about how he needs to make sure he has other reasons as to why he gets on the phone. But the thing is that I watch people who are earning $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 or less in a year, and they simply can't do the one thing that would change their whole life forever: consistency on the phone or consistency knocking on a door. So just don't underestimate the simpleness of this business. You know, that the challenge of this business is not its complexity. It's the challenge of this business is, will you do what you're supposed to do despite how you feel more times than not? And I've always believed, I can think back of all the days of my business, in the business of real estate, and I think there's more days that I have looked back on and gone, man, I really didn't want to be there. I really didn't want to do that. I really didn't want to make that call. I really didn't want to stand up. I mean, I'm 5 days away or 6 days away from general anesthesia. I don't know if who's had a surgery before in their life where you've like gone completely tubed down the throat, the whole works, right? This stuff rocks your world. Today I was even like, I could feel the anxiety. I kept waking up all night knowing that I was going to be here, and all that feeling of, oh my gosh, do I want to start into that engagement of that intensity of what the business is because of where I've been from the standpoint of just trying to recover. It doesn't matter, again, how I feel, right? And I'm not saying man, if you could do that 80% of the time on most everything you do, just think about that. That's 4 out of 5 days a week that you prospect consistently. If you had 80% of the listing appointments you went on, or 80% of the buyer appointments you went on, or 80% of the time you went and hit the gym 4 out of 5 days a week, or played some sport, or whatever it is that you do, my point is that, man, 80% in almost everything that we do is pretty awesome. If you were on track 4 out of 5 days mentally, if you were on track where you took 4 out of 5 listings or 4 out of 5 buyers, or you set an appointment, let's just say one or let's say 1 or 2 appointments every 8 to 10 people you talk to, all of a sudden your whole world changes on the 80% mark. So just consider the impact of that. So let's go back to this just real quick. What would you do? I'm going to ask you guys. Let's go. What would you do in regards to your mindset this year differently over the next 30, 60, 90 days? What skill sets are you going to create? The ones that you know are most important. Maybe that's a presentation. Maybe it's closing. Maybe it's could be objection handling. Could be negotiations. Could be your ability to go knock doors. Just what are 3 skill sets that you're really going to focus on over the next 30, 60, 90 days? And then there's the discipline of prospecting. But I just would point out that if I have just realized that if you can master these 3 things before 12 noon, would be your prospecting. It would be the fact that you get yourself to a gym, do something in regards to your exercise, breathe, I guess if you would say, a great depth of oxygen. And then last is to make sure that you practice. Practice your scripts, practice your dialogues, practice your communication skills, but practice. And if you disciplined yourself in those 3 areas and you conquered all those things before 12 noon every day, every one of you would be earning several hundred thousands of dollars every single year. That's exactly what will happen. It's always the case. So just don't underestimate the magnitude of, look, what were 3, it doesn't have to be these 3 disciplines, but I can tell you this, those 3 mastered in this business or in your life, you'll make a fortune. You don't, you'll always struggle. You don't master those 12 skill sets we always talk about, you'll always struggle. You don't get your mind right, you always will struggle. It just is it's the nature of the beast. So however you move through these 3 things, you want to disguise them as something different, you want to talk about them being something different, this is the foundation to all success. And as you start off your new year, I just would challenge you to make sure you're really clear on what has to be different. And if you're totally okay with the amount of income that you earned last year, or you don't want to grow, then I guess you can just repeat. Or in the words of like a Jim Rohn who said, look, if you don't want much, well then you don't have to become much. Or when he was asked by his own mentor Earl Schoaf way back in the day, hey, you should go earn $1 million. And he said, well, why should I earn $1 million? He goes, oh, it's not about the $1 million. You guys heard me say this before. It's about who you have to become to earn $1 million. That's a whole different conversation. Who do you have to become in that process? So as you move through this, gang, just don't underestimate the magnitude of importance of your mind, your skill set, the skill set to communicate, how you communicate in a presentation, how you communicate during customer service, how you communicate for if I'm looking at managers, coaching, how are you communicating when you're recruiting, how are you communicating when you're in meetings, how you're communicating with other staff members, how are you communicating with your own team if you have a team, how are you communicating with a buyer, a seller, how are you communicating with the other parts of your team, title, escrow, mortgage, right? All of those things. Last night, 9 o'clock at night, I'm on a phone call, calming a situation down. Other people had had the chance to communicate with this person. And I had been, I've been a little bit, on the surgery side, and I hadn't had a chance to talk to him. After I talked to him, he took a deep breath and said, "Thank you." And then sent me a text after and said, "I just need you to understand that it seems like the very same things were said by other people, but for some reason it makes sense when you're saying it." And and that conversation, just so you know, represents thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, think about that. So how important it is that you communicate at a high level is critical. And look, at the same time, I've never thought I've arrived in this area. Because if I think I've arrived, guess what starts happening? Why? What do you think starts happening? If I think I've arrived, like I'm there, I've done it, I got it all figured out, now what? Yeah, just remember that. So I've never believed there's the perfect presentation. I've never believed there's the perfect call. I've never believed that you can't get better. And that's the whole reason that, can you be content but ambitious at the same time? I hope you can. Because that means you'll never stop the growth process. And the key is that you never stop growing. Growth is happiness, progression, all of these things that bring such joy to your life. And those difficult moments of your life are probably be the moments that you'll say when they are over. You'll go, "Man, weren't those great times? Remember those times when we were blah, 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 or when it was this, 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 or how tough it was, dot, dot, dot," and you'll sit back and go, "Man, those were great times." And then you'll talk about the greatness of them in most cases because of the difficulty. And the difficulty is what causes you to grow. And the growth in any of these three areas of mindset, skills, and discipline, or all three, are the ingredients to a great business. And if you want a great business, you can never lose sight of them. It is the foundation. And if you add the other parts of our foundation we always talk about, right? Adding some systems and strategies to your system, right? Or to your arsenal, right? And then you take the other ones, which are living a life of purpose, really knowing the emotion, the heart, the soul behind what you do every day. And then the last part, of course, is making sure you have a plan. Making sure you have a few set goals. Make sure that you know your schedule. But that's the foundation. I was 22 years old. 25 and a half years ago when I wrote those things down. Have I refined them? Yeah, a little, but not much of a difference. I still remember the first thing I wrote down when I was looking at other great agents and asked the questions, what do top producers do? And I wrote down, I'm like, they do it with purpose. They have purpose behind what they do. Maybe I would just say this in closing, that if you can put some deep purpose behind what you do, if you can make sure that as you move through this year, that it's not just about a dollar figure, it's not just about a number of closings, it's not just about hitting a goal, but if you can get to a deeper level of meaning behind that, sometimes I think we forget the impact that we have on people. And we forget about the fact of just even the simplicity of home ownership and what you bring to someone's life, or the success and the economic success that comes because you showed up in their lives. Then there's other things like where I see people making differences, whether it be in charitable works or acts of service, but really like making sure you're moving a life and living a life that's purposeful, right? If there's anything I could say is that, look, put purpose behind it and then bring passion behind it, right? Bring the heart and the soul behind your purpose, and then all of a sudden there even becomes more reasons, more meaning, that it's not just go take a listing, it's not just put a buyer in a contract, it becomes more than that. It becomes the difference of, maybe it's giving money to your church, maybe it's giving money to your charity, maybe it's having the time to take your kids to do this or to go do that, and it becomes much more meaningful. I can tell you that if the transactions become meaningless because it's just a dollar figure and it's just money, then I can tell you that you'll really lose what's necessary in the process of communicating from a skill set standpoint. So make sure there's meaning, make sure there's purpose, make sure you're living a life that you've designed purposefully, not just by accident, not just by happenstance, not just because the winds of change occurred, right? The statement I love of Tony Robbins, change is inevitable, right? That's an absolute guarantee, but progress is not. And that is, the progress is almost always a very defined process, right? You define what you want to do with your mind. You define what you want to do from your skills. You define what you want to do from a place of discipline and activity. So with that, still got a few minutes, Michael. So what are you going to do mentally? Mindset. What are you going to do to elevate that over the next 30, 60, 90 days?
I'm going to make sure I'm praying and priming every day. I'm going to make sure I'm reading daily. And your message yesterday about thoughts and the strangest secret prompted me to go back and watch that again, and I've gotten away from my goal card. So I'm going to have
your 3x5.
My 3x5 in my pocket, my goal.
Love it. Love it. Good. Jason, what about you?
For mindset?
Or skill set, or discipline, anything.
For discipline, probably cleaner foods.
Cleaner foods?
Cleaner foods.
Okay. Everything's organic, even Taco Bell. Just kidding. That's the Jared Blank I remember used to always say.
No, one of my
He's
goals
like, it's all organic.
One of my goals this year is to finish St. George Ironman in under 12 hours. In order to do that, I have to lean up a little bit and feel a little more efficient. So I'm going to do that with clean foods and meditation visualization.
It's good. Love that. Love that. That's great. Tim, what about you?
Yeah, for me, it's a lot with the health that, you know, I'm focusing on. Well, one thing I'm doing this year is not drinking this year, so for the whole year, so it's big for me. No beer, no nothing. So
it's good.
And then also,
how much weight did you lose last year?
65 pounds.
Nice, man.
So
I bet you lose 30 from not drinking.
Yeah, because it kind of, over the holidays, I'd be up 5, down 5, it would just offset, so okay, it's really hindering what I'm doing. So that's my big things with health, and I'd say discipline, working more hours, just being more present when and more just intentional when I'm in the office.
That's great. I wrote that on my mirror yesterday. Be present in the moment. Yeah, whatever that is. That's cool. That's cool. Dan, how about you?
I've been working out regularly, so continue to do that.
Nice. So continue the workouts.
Right.
What about mindset?
Mindset.
Although working out obviously has a big impact on that, no question.
Reading more regularly. I listen to a lot of, I was telling Ruby Les Brown, she was listening to stuff this morning. Les Brown, Jim Rohn, that kind of Tony.
Yeah.
But I gotta be reading as well.
Nice.
It's not much strong suit.
Okay, I like that. Andrew, how about you?
For me, the self-discipline and accountability is going to be just controlling my morning until noon. We've got a pretty good group down there, so I think between all of us and the accountability we have, it's going to be a good year.
That's cool, man. I love it. John, how about you?
I'll wrap some accountability around contacting my database on a regular basis.
So what does that mean? Like, get real specific with me. How many a day?
Well, I got to take a look at it. There's 280 in my database.
So 5 per day, 5 days a week?
I need to scrub some of those and add some more. But yeah, probably 5 a day.
Okay. All right. How about you text me when you know probably what you're going to do?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So when are you going to text me? Today?
Yeah, today.
Exactly what you're going to be doing?
Before noon.
All right. Exactly what you're doing?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Perfect. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Sam, what are you going to do? You realize no one's getting out of here unless you jump out of your chair right now.
Well, I got to run. I got to call. I've learned that my job takes a tremendous amount of stamina, physical stamina. So I'm working on a regular, intense exercise routine. I got into the habit of walking the neighborhood with the dog and watching Netflix. Calling it exercise. I've realized that's not enough. So doing an intense workout routine, and then not only cleaning up the body but the mind a lot less walking the dog with Netflix and more watching motivational type things to get the mind right.
That's good. I like it. Lynn's, how about you?
Follow my Miracle Morning.
So give us an example of that. Like, give us some of it. All of it.
So my morning starts out with climbing meditation from Tony Robbins, 20 minutes of cardio, 200 abs, an hour and a half of weightlifting, motivational, 10 minutes of my book, and Spanish for 5 minutes. Eat meat once a day. And write down 3 gratitudes. New gratitudes.
Right.
They can't be ones I've done before. That's
All right.
my Miracle
Expanding the
Morning.
gratitude.
I've been listening to the Miracle Morning, and it's interesting how much he talks about this, re-listening to it. And a lot of it for me is repetitive, and like you said, a lot of these things you become like a Brian Burnett in areas of self-discipline. I think for me, there's a lot of things that I, just over the years of being here, have become habits. So much so that like in my, like writing out my goals and things like that, like a lot of them are habitual now. But making sure that I'm staying in those routines, as well as knowing just that, like you said, from your workouts to things that you do, like that, they all affect all of that. So if I'm not taking care of me, I can't be who I need to be in those areas. So for me, it's if I stick to my Miracle Morning for the next 90 days, get that into a habit, then it will be easier for me to maintain everything else.
Cool. Love it. How about you, Why?
For me, honestly, the biggest thing I have for accountability is I've set goals for all of those, but it all starts with my morning. And as a team, we're actually listening to Miracle Morning right now.
Nice.
But I've set up an accountability with David, Parker, and Chad to text them at 5 a.m. so I'm up. And that's kind of where my weakness is. If I'm up, then I'm able to do everything else. And that's why I set up an accountability with them.
That's the interesting thing. There's only like 2 or 3 things that if you do those 3 things, everything else comes together, right? It's like mastering till 12 noon. You master till 12 noon. From the moment you wake up to 12 noon, everything will come together. Alan, how about you?
What was the question, Bill?
Just anything you're going to do regarding your mindset, skills, or your discipline that's different than what you've been doing, or continue doing what you know works.
Like taking the next step now as being a leader now and building my own team. It's been a shift, but when it comes down to it, I'm looking forward to taking that role and not just focusing on my own business, but also worrying about the whole team as well, and making sure that they are doing what they should be doing on a consistent basis too, and also by leading by example too, by showing up every morning, by staying late, by calling, by overall being present at the end of the day, and not just hiring somebody to just say, hey, go make a call, but actually being engaged with them while they are calling to see what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. Then on top of that, when it comes down to it, going through what I went through with my health and everything early in the year, it's been a shift trying to figure out what I am able to eat, what I am not able to eat, and trying to figure out that balance. One thing too is definitely get a nutrition coach to figure out what exactly I should be eating on a daily basis. That way I can feed my mind and my body, well my body, but then that will feed my mind to be able to perform and be able to take things on to a whole other level. I feel like not being able to eat gluten, not being able to eat dairy, not being able to eat a bunch. I can't even have hot coffee anymore. It's been a shit. It's been interesting trying to figure out what I can and can't eat, because I've noticed if I do eat a certain food, my whole day's ruined.
Yeah.
Not just I'm feeling like crap, but mentally too, you feel foggy. So I'm just trying to figure out what I can and can't eat a little bit better. What else?
Okay. Hey, I can't remember your name. I know we've met.
No, actually, I
Haven't
haven't.
we? Well, you look friendly. He looks like, do you know Isaac, who does our filming?
Oh,
He does
Yeah.
not.
You look, does he not look?
He
I'm
looks
actually
good.
not just dawned on me. You look like you might meet that guy one day.
Okay.
Handsome fellow, just like you.
He just
Give
got
me your
lucky.
name.
Robert.
All right, Robert, give us a thought or two. What are you going to do differently?
Differently, you know, I have been exercising regularly, so keep that up. But my thing is consistency every morning. So like, you know, as far as mindset, priming it, listening to motivational, you know, affirmations, things like that, I just don't do it consistently every day. And that would be a big thing for me, is to actually, you know, just make it a priority and then do it every day.
Yeah,
So.
I love it. Well, to that point, Robert, you know, one of the things I used to do is I would have my Beats, or now I have different ones, but just basically the earphones, right, or your headphones, or whatever they're called now. What are they called?
AirPods.
AirPods, thank you. But like instantly available, to where within, my objectives was always within 30 seconds of me waking up, that I was not listening to me, because I am a very dangerous person at 5 a.m. And if I'm listening to me, it is unlikely it will be a very good day. Because at 5 a.m. I'm either really tired, I'm like, you know, again, if we're talking about my daily message, that's done after I've worked out, after I'm all motivated and pumped up to conquer the day, right? But that 30 seconds, I realized that if I can do the things in that time frame. And then the other thing is, just I was reminded of Mel Robbins. Remember, what does she have, her little thing? What is it?
5 second
Right, the 5 second rule, right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And just all the science behind that is fascinating. You have just seconds before you will convince yourself of another path. So with that, Ken's, and then Ruby, and then gotta get my mom's advice, right, Tim?
Right.
All right.
Thanks to your mom.
Ken's, but just give us one or two things.
My goal is to lift more than Sam every fight.
Wow.
No, I started. Now's my time. I've started doing this new exercise program, and it's been really interesting to see. Not only does it give you more energy, but I think just waking up in the morning gives me. I heard someone say an edge the other day, because not a lot of other people are doing that. So I like that. I think it's a good confidence booster. And then just really being consistent with prospecting every day and really talking to experienced agents and mixing that in with new licenses too.
That's great. Love that. Ruby.
For me, it's just like you said, right when you wake up, I started to get up even earlier, like 15-minute increments, so at 5:30, and I'm meditating. If I'm not meditating, I don't think I have such a great day. And I'm able to come in with a positive mindset, and I don't forget to write my gratitudes. Because life can get really hard, and if you don't meditate and you don't see what you have and what you're grateful for, you won't see what's coming, and you won't be grateful for what is coming, the opportunities that are there. That's really important to me. And then health, I've kind of let things go. Sometimes in my mind I don't exercise as much as I would, and I feel like it just puts me in a funk. So exercising at least 5 times a week, and I'm sticking to it, and time blocking, so I can be better to do that.
That's good. Good. Love. Thank you for being here, by the way, there this morning. I know you, I think you've been carrying most of the torch for Mr. Bentley, right? Yeah, that's good. What's his deal? Is he coming?
Next week.
Is it next week?
Yeah.
Is he walking now?
He's been able to get in and out of the car with his elbow crutches.
All right.
So he's
What a journey.
That's at home, yeah.
Yeah.
So he wants to come in.
Yeah, I
He has
bet you
crutches.
he's getting a little stir crazy. I
Yeah.
can only imagine.
I'm in prospect every day. No,
Huh?
I'm teasing.
That is what you should be doing.
That's what it is.
That's right.
I feel like I could, but I'm sure it's so much harder than it looks. As far as mindset.
Not really.
Well, okay.
The hardness is
Nothing I
doing
can't
it.
learn. Nothing I can't learn. So mindset, I listen to books on Audible, because if I sit around and read, I usually fall asleep at this age. So I want to actually read at least 10 pages of an inspirational book of some sort each day, and take physical notes, which I do that pretty much, but be consistent about it. And as far as exercise too, I've had, as you know, 2 hip surgeries, 2 hip dislocations, spinal surgery like George has had, and so I'm just now able to really kind of maybe not work full out, but better. And so I want to be more consistent about doing that and do it early in the morning, which has not been my habit. So I would like to make that a habit and be able to walk without fatigue and climb mountains. with you.
There we go.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
write a book.
All
And
right.
write a book.
There you go. I love that.
So time management.
So look, this is the one thing the one word I'm
Wait,
going
what
to
about
leave
you?
you.
Yeah, what about you, George?
I said two things. Which part?
What two things?
I talked about 30 seconds from within when waking up, and then making sure that, what was the other thing I said right after that?
Those are things you've been
Yeah,
doing.
those are late.
No, I haven't been doing
Give us
them.
something
That's
better.
my whole
Give us
point.
something juicy.
Pardon?
Give us something
Something
good.
better.
Give us
Something
new.
good.
George, what are you really working on?
I'll tell you the main thing I'm working on is that every single day I'm going to set an appointment. And then when I have managers like you or you and you and you who say I didn't set an appointment today, and you'll say I was so busy, then I'm going to have you look at my schedule and I'm still going to set an appointment every single day for recruiters. And then I'm going to look at any agent and say, please help me understand. I run 9 companies and I still have the time somehow to set an appointment every day. That is the number one thing that will happen this year for me. So if you would like to have that accountability with me, Jason, that would be fantastic.
We will all opt in.
No, it's not just a one-sided accountability. You will put serious accountability to the same thing.
This is on
Being recorded. Yeah. All right, perfect.
Okay? 5 appointments. So on a weekly basis, just so you know, my whole thing is on a weekly basis, I will have 5 appointments set. That doesn't mean I'll attend every single one of them, because the fact is that specifically between those 2 ladies right there, I've already told them they have to pick up my slack because I don't have the time to hit every single thing through, if you would say, the goal line. But I know I can set them. So that's my deal. What's your goal for recruiting?
For my recruiting.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Sorry, I didn't mean to open the can.
Thanks a lot. You know this was her, not me, right?
I know her goal. She's already sent me the goals that she and her team are going to accomplish. I don't even have to wonder what she's doing. I've actually made it very clear what they have to do, and they willingly said, okay. So what are you going to do?
I'm gonna do 24 this year.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll help you.
But what is most important, which will be the conversation that I've already had with them, is what I want is 12 agents that I would consider capping. So I don't care if you get 12 people, but just make sure they're all 12 people that are rock stars like Andrew over there, or Tim, or Alan. Actually, pretty much everybody in here. Here's the word of the day, though. Here's the deal. The only way you win this game is by structure. So the probablys or I'll tries or this is what I'm shooting for, I can tell you will fail you. But I can promise you that the reason like the new craze of F45 or CrossFits or any other exercise program or diet program, it is just simply this. You can either create your own structure, and some of you are exceptionally good at that. I know that Lindsay's exceptionally good at that and doing that in the gym. Some of us aren't. The reality is we go to do different things that create structure, but when we're having high levels of success, whether it be in prospecting, our exercise, our practice, our home front, our home life, it's because you create some level of a structure that works and you consistently do it. And look, the results of your life are based on the structure. A poor golf shot has almost nothing to do with the swing. It has to do with how you set up before you swing. Just remember that. It's how you set it up. It's the structure that you set up. It's the setup of your morning. It's the structure of your morning that sets up the rest of your day, your month, your quarter, and your year.
I'm just going to echo on that, George, and it's something again that I heard today is it's not, I love the word structure, and I think obviously, and I even said this morning to one of my gym friends is I'm not somebody who does good without structure. In fact, I go stir crazy, as you know. But one of the things I loved, and it was a conversation that I was having about, just getting in routine is, it was so easy for me to be able to just on, New Year's morning go, well, I don't really need to go to the gym. And I totally was actually okay with it because for me, the gym's a lifestyle. And so I would just not think about it as a structure, is what lifestyle do you need to create? Because the reality is people will get in these routines, whether it's the gym, whether it's the skill set to prospect, whether it is to I mean, essentially what Brian Burnett has created is a lifestyle around prospecting. He's created a
Great way of saying
lifestyle
it.
around, I mean, he's avid at the morning, gym workouts. So I just would challenge you to go one step further and think of it not just as a structure, but what lifestyle do you need to create? Because lifestyles stay, structures move.
Yeah, I like that. It's a great little twist. Another word that keeps coming to my mind is just standards, right? I was listening to Ed Milet, and he was all talking about, like I always say, everyone steals the truths, but his whole thing was, I was listening to Tony Robbins, but I was listening to Ed Milet. This whole conversation about raising your standards. Standards of the people you spend time with, standards of the foods you eat, standards of your exercise program, standards of you name it. Your standards are really the results of your life, right? The life that you accept is based on the standards that you set for yourself. So, all right, with that, Ruby, are we done? I appreciate everybody's comment. Did we miss anybody in here? Everybody said something, right? Everybody got their word in, right? Guys, cool that you're here. For me, it was actually a big step for me being here this morning, just because I'm just, again, I'm exactly 7 days from surgery. I did not expect myself to feel the way I feel, so, which has really been a great blessing, just from the standpoint of the recovery, so I can get out on a pickleball court, Tim, as soon as possible. That's my objective. All right, with that, let's do some affirmations. Let's have a great day. Kick butt, take names, have a great year. It's going to be a good year for a lot of reasons.
Yes, sir.
All right, Dan, you ready?
Do it.
Here we go. I succeed because I've got my goals. I'm an optimist. I like talking to new people. I know what's important to them. I remember people's names. I have a daily plan I follow. I'm passionate about real estate. I know consistency is my greatest tool. I like asking questions and listening. I enjoy reading to improve my sales skills. My thoughts and my emotions, action results. I focus on my dreams daily. My